But ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to join you this afternoon to mark a significant turning point in a great cause. That cause is the funding of our universities and TVET institutions. Indeed, I wish to thank His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, for appointing each one of you into the National Committee on Review of the new university education funding model. This is a testament to the fact that the government is always keen to ensure accountability, transparency, and broad-based participation in formulating and refining its policies. The government implemented the new funding model to mainstream equity in financing university and TVET students through a combination of scholarships and loans. The aim was to address the financial barriers that hinder access to higher education, especially for those most vulnerable students. As a ministry, we are satisfied with the progress that has been made in the past 2 years. In 2023, the model implemented to fund a total of 113,140 KSC students into the public and private universities successfully. The students now pursuing their second year of studies are beneficiaries of this particular funding. Drawing on this success, the model was applied to fund the KSC 2023 candidates who are placed in the universities this year. The model almost doubled the resources following to our universities, which had been increasing at a modest 5% each year. This strategic leap in the growth of resources put many universities on a recovery path from the huge pending bills, with full recovery anticipated to take place within the next 2, 3 to 4 years. There was no doubt that the days ahead are great or hold great promise for revitalizing the quality of education in our universities and our TVETs, ultimately for the benefit of our students. Despite these gains, my ministry recognizes the fact that any model is a work in progress. Indeed, the new funding model presents multiple opportunities for further innovation and refinement. We welcome your collective wisdom as well as feedback from Kenyans to ensure that the financing of higher education in Kenya is not only fit for purpose, but that the policy is fully embraced and remains at the heart of every student and their families. As a ministry, we promise to provide a conducive working environment for the National Committee to deliver on its mandate effectively and efficiently. With these few remarks, it is now my singular honor to welcome our chief guest, the head of public service, Honorable Felix Koskei, to address the members of the National Committee. Thank you and God bless you.
The Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Education, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Higher Education and Research, Dr. Beatrice Nyangala, the State Department for Basic Education, PS Kipsang Belial, Deputy Chief Registrar of the Judiciary, Head of Special Projects, Executive Office of the President, Dr. Dennis Itumbi, the Vice Chancellors present, the union leaders present. I saw Dr. Wasonga somewhere of Uasu, and Mr. Mugwaya somewhere, that corner of Kusu. Is he there? Chairperson and members of the National Committee that we are inaugurating today, all university student leaders present, invited guests, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, Good afternoon. So it is my pleasure to be here, and even greater pleasure to see so many distinguished educators, university dons, public servants, university students, and leaders. Among the many engagements I undertake in my office, none resonates more deeply than those that focus on the education sector. This is because education is not just a tool. It is the compass that guides our steps into the future, a central pillar in His Excellency's vision for better Kenya. Education unlocks the boundless potential within us, nurtures our aspirations, and serves as the engine that drives both personal fulfillment and powers the nation's collective progress. So, ladies and gentlemen, let us start with an often told story. About 80 years ago, it is 1955. I'm sure majority of us were not born yet. 8 years before our nations gained high independence. Grace Ogot, for those who know, who wrote a lot of books, later to become an MP and an assistant minister, has just finished a nursing course in Kampala, then come home to teach and practice at Maseno Hospital. She has done well enough to win the offer of a place in the United Kingdom with a scholarship. She intends to take up the offer, so goes back to Asendo to ask her parents' permission. Her parents are reluctant. They have supported her in everything she has done so far. But this one is a step too far. Does she want to settle down and start a family? That night, as discussions continued, a neighbor came to report that a woman had been in labor for 6 hours and that she and her child were in a bad state. It was a breech birth. Grace had not forgotten to bring her nurse's kit with her. She made her way to the neighbor's house and saved the lives of the mother and the child. Her grandfather, upon seeing what she has done, simply said, "Let Akinyi fly." And so she did, to become the first Kenyan midwife to be trained in England, and later to serve as a nurse and an assistant minister. Let Akinyi fly. Ladies and gentlemen, that is what we are here to do today, to liberate our children, to give them the knowledge that makes them capable of saving our neighbor's life, of serving their communities faithfully, of diligent, productive labor for the country that we love. We will talk at length about policy and about what we must do for the sake of our children's education. But if there is one abiding image I ask you to hold in your minds, is that one. Like Mzee, we are here to do everything we can to prepare our children to fly. Policy reviews are onerous. Rethinking a deeply held set of practices and habits is hard work, but they have their rewards. Reflective leaders enjoy revisiting past principles. So let us make a fresh start. What exactly do we want from our education? What exactly has stopped us getting it? I think we all want inclusivity. Think back to Mrs. Ogot's day. Few Africans could qualify as midwives or nurses. We now have more than 100,000 registered trained nurses, when in 1955 there were fewer than 100. We have done well to bring a good education within the reach of anyone who can benefit from it, but we still have a long way to go to realize the United Nations recommended ratio for health officer to citizen. I think we all also want relevance. We want knowledge that actually empowers the individual and transforms our lives. The understanding that comes from theory is vital, but it is just as important that knowledge make a difference to the lives of those who receive or apply it. We want knowledge that saves life or earns a good living or builds up the nation. Equally, we want to maintain the high standards, as the Kenyan education has long been known for. Our best graduates have long been competitive in their numeracy and literacy with the best anywhere else in the world. That is why they are wanted in Germany, South Korea, elsewhere. Let us keep it that way. All this must be done to a budget. Public money is finite. There are competing priorities. Consider health, security, social services, pensions, and support to senior citizens and vulnerable households. Each and every shilling must be spent prudently. The people of Kenya have made perfectly clear they have no time for waste or theft. Education needs to show that it is spending its share of public money well, especially because your work is unusually visible. If graduates can't write, reason, or add, then they cannot long hide it. We know whom to blame. Finally, national productivity. Kenya's labor productivity isn't growing as fast as it should, and in some sectors, we have actually regressed. Few things matter more than productivity for prosperity. And Kenya, unlike others, depends on our greatest asset, our people, not our minerals. We need to make sure that our productivity is high and rising. And that means that each and every child in the Republic must get an education that makes it possible for them to contribute to the growth, to ending poverty, and to investing in their children's education when the time comes. So, ladies and gentlemen, these are our principles, these are our hopes. What stands in our way? Why aren't we there yet? Number one, first, there are far more students than there once were. In my year as a fresher, we were hardly 3,000 students admitted in that year. Subsequently, after the first Form 4 class in 1989, in 1990, the population of students in all universities was about 23,000 students. Today, they are in hundreds of thousands. That is a consequence of our growing population. It is also a consequence of our policy of inclusion by according every Kenyan child a chance. Now, every administration since independence has expanded education provisions in some way. In 2003, President Mwai Kibaki administration launched perhaps the largest in our history, the free primary education program. That means that there were far more students enrolled. Enrollment rose by something like 1 million students, if I remember right. And of course, many of those who first enrolled in school under that program, joined universities in the year 2017 and have since the year 2020 been part of our nation's human capital, joining in the transformation of our nation. This administration will keep faith with those children and with the previous governments of the country. It is therefore the challenge of our time to find a funding model that completes the mission of inclusion. Secondly, we need to think about the state of our universities. When this administration took office in 2022, we found public universities in something close to a crisis. Pending bills were up to 60 billion shillings or so. 23 out of the 40 public universities were technically insolvent. The quality of teaching, research, and publications was clearly in decline. Kenyan researchers were at risk of being left behind by others on the continent. And paling on competitiveness globally, our students were at risk of falling behind even our peers on the continent and across the world. Action was required. That was why His Excellency the President put together a working party on education reform, which, after consulting widely, recommended a new model. He launched it in May last year, and the first students enrolled under it are now in their second year. It is this model, ladies and gentlemen, that you are called to review. And I am immensely grateful that you have pledged your time and expertise to the cause. I know many of you have teaching, research, and other professional commitments. It is very generous of you to take on this extra task. Let me say a few words about the task as I see it. First, we must commend the President for leading a responsive administration and acting quickly. He realized right away that this problem called for immediate action. He did not delay. Let his example guide us. Let us do this quickly. Second, I trust the committee through its 4 work streams will consult widely, and especially when the coordinating board is being chaired by my teacher, Professor Michelin-Tipa. As I said, through these work streams, I hope we shall have wide consultations. Because education is an emotive subject. Every parent has a strong opinion of their child's learning and its cost. Every employer, similarly, has a strong view of the abilities of graduates these days. Education matters, and it matters very much to very many. So I ask you to consult widely, speak to the education sector, but speak also to parents, groups, to associations, to lobbyists, to regulators, to government, and to students. The wider your consultation, the likelier your recommendations will meet with approval or at least acquiescence. Third, I want to ask you to think about the future. When you teach at university, as many of you have, you know that the young men and women before you are the future cardiologists, the future economists, the future attorney general, our future weathermen and women, our future pilots, teachers, and the future presidents of this country. In putting the instructions of our children in the hands of this sector, we are giving you the future of the country. So in thinking about the new funding model, let us think of the future. Let us do something that will last, not a compromise that will get us through the next few years only to break down. Your tenure will be short, but let the committee give us an answer we can look back on with pride a generation hence. Thirdly and finally, ladies and gentlemen, is the matter of constraint. Government is at or near the limits of its capacity to spend on account of the debt burden. We must make do with what we have by cutting what is unnecessary, by making better use of what we have. But let me not say no, because that would be to take on a mandate that is yours, not mine. I think the speakers who came before me, and I agree with them, I have stated very clearly that this is an opportunity for all of us, especially those who have been appointed by His Executive the President, to have a chance of exercising their intelligence, their ability, and having a space, an opportunity to contribute to transformation of this country. Many of us did not get this chance at your age, especially the student leaders and those who are representing students in these committees. You have a platform now to stretch your minds, make a contribution that later on in 20, 30 years you will say, yes, I was part of that team. I was a member of that team that was formed to mainstream, realign, and fine-tune a funding model that will stand the test of time. It is your time, ladies and gentlemen, it's your time to showcase your patriotism. It's your time to set aside our own personal opinions by putting them on the table and let them be assessed and let them be collated with others. And finally, bring up or come up with a fine-tuned product that will help this country fund our higher education sustainably and make each and every citizen of this country proud of the product that you are going to give. So you have a huge chance to prove that you are able to be part of the history. Secondly, it is not always very easy to be spotted by the president. And as you are aware, the president is exercising his mandate as has been delegated by the people of Kenya. So as the president appoints you, it is the people of Kenya who has appointed you. So don't let down the people of Kenya. Walk into the stage and do the best that you can do at this particular time. I have a lot of confidence. I interacted with most of you several weeks ago, though it was one afternoon, but I saw bright minds I saw patriots, I saw people who are looking for solutions. Let us harness the energies that we have, the intellect that we have, and let this country benefit from those assets, because it is truly, the country is truly the owner of the assets that you are bestowed to carry. So I close with an assurance. My office and my staff will support you in any way we can. This is a matter of national interest. We are grateful for the generosity with which you have committed your time, and we, in our turn, will be generous with what we have. I said resources are finite. We no longer have a headroom. So it requires a lot of innovation thinking in reorganizing ourselves so that we can be able to run all the sectors across the country well. And I'm very confident. There was a young man from Jomo Kenyatta who, I don't know whether he's around, he commented 3 times that he's a financial engineer, that in financial engineering, I'm not seeing the elements that can bring things together and work out. I'm telling you, with these 100+ people, I'm sure each and everybody has come with 1 or 2 things that will make things happen, and it has to happen, because we all desire to sort this problem once and for all. And we are encouraging as government a conversation like this. A meeting of minds where people come, people disagree in a room, people offer reasons as to why they are disagreeing, people are ready to buy or to cede ground, people who can be persuaded and they can persuade, and finally, we all walk out and face the country as patriots who wants our beloved country to grow and to stabilize and to move forward. So, ladies and gentlemen, with these few remarks, it is my pleasure now to officially launch the Committee's exercise and wish you God's blessings as you begin your task. And I repeat, let Akinyi fly. Thank you very much.